Can anything be Judeau-Christian? By Bertrand L. Comparet. Taken from your heritage. Prepared into a PDF file by Clifton A. Emmaheiser's Teaching Ministries. Plus critical notes. This is an age when news has been superseded by propaganda and education by brainwashing and indoctrination. From the advertising used to sell shorty goods, to the classes in your schools designed to make your children into obedient robots of a socialist state. The art of persuasion has displaced the simple virtues of truth. The masters who rule out of the shadows, using as puppets those who govern us, to drive this nation ever farther down the path to socialism. These alien Canaanite Jews seek to gain control of your mind, for with that they will rule you in all things. One of the great fortresses of the mind, which they must capture if they are to change your destiny, is your religion. Suddenly we have been bombarded from all sides with references to our Judeo-Christian religion and heritage. Just as the other Communist Party line phrases, hate monger and extreme right wing, have appeared suddenly in all our newspapers and most magazines when the Communist Party decreed it. Likewise has the phrase Judeo-Christian appeared suddenly in the writings of hosts of men who seek to mold public opinion. Was this the spontaneous idea of some one writer who originated it? If it were, he would have a monopoly on it for some time. Instead it has been used simultaneously by the many who serve the Communist Party, until even the fumbling copyists join in the chorus, not knowing whose purpose they are serving. Is there any truth in this phrase, Judeo-Christian? Is Christianity derived from Judaism? Does Christianity have anything in common with Judaism? Who can say with authority what the answer may be? Certainly Yahshua is the greatest authority, for none know better than he, and next would come his disciples. Let us ask them whether Christianity can be truthfully called Judeo-Christian. When the southern tribes of Judah and Benjamin were taken into the Babylonian captivity, the Sadducees and Pharisees among them were also taken. They paid lip service to the laws of Yahweh, using this as a means of getting control of the synagogues, etc. In Babylon these non-Israelites further developed their oral laws, still giving lip service to Yahweh's laws. The foundation and highest authority of Judaism is the Talmud. In the time of Yahshua, this bore the name of the tradition of the elders. At that time there were two principal religious sects, the Sadducees and the Pharisees. The Sadducees were gross materialists who did not believe in a resurrection of the dead, or in any other form of immortality. They recognized the written law, as given by Moses in the Pentateuch, but it was lip service rather than honest obedience. In the time of Christ, they controlled the priesthood, and the high priest was always chosen from their ranks. The Pharisees recognized the existence of angels and spirits, both good and bad, and believed in the resurrection of the dead. While they recognized the written law, as given in the scriptures, they also claimed there was a great body of oral tradition which was of at least equal authority with the written law. Many claimed the tradition was of greater authority. By their tradition, they undertook to explain and elaborate upon the law. This was the tradition of the elders, to which the name of Talmud was later given. It had its beginning at Babylon, during the Babylonian captivity of the nation of Judah, where it developed in the form of the commentaries of various rabbis, undertaking to explain and apply the law. This traditional, or Talmudic Judaism, was very different from the true religion, which we find in the Old Testament. The late Rabbi Stephen S. Wise, who was the chief rabbi of the United States, expressed this so clearly that I cannot improve upon his words. Rabbi Wise said, "The return from Babylon and the adoption of the Babylonian Talmud marks the end of Hebrewism and the beginning of Judaism. Since the true religion of the Old Testament was the religion of the real Hebrews, not bad fig-Jews, the learned rabbi was quite right in calling it Hebrewism and noting that it was abandoned when the Talmud, or tradition of the elders, was adopted. This also constitutes the beginning of Judaism." Nothing could be clearer than the total antagonism between Judaism and Christianity. All the opposition to Yahshua, including their murder of him upon the cross, came from Judaism and those who professed it as their religion. The total entirety of Judaism was represented by the Pharisees and Sadducees. With this in mind, let us review the Gospels and see if there we can find anything which can truthfully be called Judeo-Christian. The scene opens with John the Baptist at the Jordan River, baptizing those who came to him in genuine repentance of their sins. We read in Matthew 3:7, "But when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees come to his baptism, he said unto them, O children of vipers, who hath warned you to flee from the wrath to come?" John must have felt that he didn't get any of his religion from Judaism, the Talmud, or the tradition of the elders. What of Yahshua? Did he feel that he owed any of his religion to Judaism? Let him answer this. In Matthew 15:1-9 we read, "Then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders, for they wash not their hands when they eat bread? He answered and said unto them, Why do ye also transgress the commandments of Yahweh by your tradition? Thus have ye made the commandment of Yahweh of none effect by your tradition. Ye hypocrites! Well did Esaias prophesy of you, saying, This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth and honoureth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men." Yahshua was always warning people to beware of the false religion of the Pharisees and Sadducees. In Mark 8:15 we read, "And he charged them, saying, Take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees." In Matthew 5:20 Yahshua said, "For I say unto you, that unless your righteousness shall exceed that of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven." Luke 11:39 records, "And Yahshua said unto him, Now do ye Pharisees make clean the outside of the cup and platter, but your inward part is full of ravening and wickedness." Was it from this source Yahshua drew Christianity? Nothing Judeo-Christian in that. Now turn to Matthew 23:13-15, 23, 25, 27 and 29. 7 different times Yahshua begins his denunciation of them with these words. "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites!" Remember the Pharisees represented the highest form of Judaism. Was this Judeo-Christian? Without one single exception, Joshua utterly rejected and condemned Judaism, in language as strong as he ever used against complete idolatry. What of the Pharisees and Sadducees? Did they show any attempt to become reconciled to him and to have a part in some so-called Judeau-Christian religion? When they heard of his miraculous healing of the sick or even saw it with their own eyes, their attitude is summed up in Matthew 12:24. But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, "This fellow doth not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of the devils." They totally rejected him. For example, in John chapter 7, where they sent officers to arrest Joshua, so they could murder him, but the officers came back without him. Then we read, "Then came the officers to the chief priests and Pharisees, and they said unto them, Why have ye not brought him?" The officers answered, "Never man spake like this man." Then answered them the Pharisees, "Are ye also deceived? Have any of the rulers or of the Pharisees believed on him?" Their only reaction to him was that of hatred and murder. Matthew 12:14, Mark 3:6, and John 11:47-53 record the incident. Then gathered the chief priests and Pharisees a council and said, "What do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him alone, all men will believe on him." Then from that day forth, they took counsel together for to put him to death. John 12:10-11 tells us they even conspired to murder poor Lazarus, whom Joshua had raised from the dead, because this miracle caused many to believe in Joshua. Is this Judeau-Christian? Judeo it truly is, but Christian it is not and never was. Wake up. Who is behind this great propaganda effort to brainwash you into thinking your religion is Judeo-Christian? Why are they spending so much money to give it such great publicity? What do they hope to accomplish by it? It is false and sinister to the utmost extreme. Critical note by Clifton A. Emmaheiser. The following is an example of my encounter with some Judeo-Christian advocates as described in my Watchman's Teaching Letter, number 19. With the last two teaching letters, I have distributed 2 8.5x14 pamphlets, 4 columns each side. The first pamphlet was entitled The Great Two-Seed Line Controversy, War and Identity, and the second, Irish and Scottish Genealogy. Research papers. It is much more concise, clear, and to the point. I have already used it as part of a witnessing tool, though I must say that it caused much rebuke from the recipient. It was declared a white supremacist, racist, and a hater of the Jews, and as you're a cancer. Too far gone. This from a Judeo-Christian who worships the God of love. Another person passed the pamphlet on Irish and Scottish genealogy at his new job in a medical teaching college. The Irish Catholic lady who received it became quite irate, and took the pamphlet to her husband, which he in turn took to her manager, whereupon the new employee was called before the manager and highly reprimanded. Isn't it simply amazing how people hate the truth? They're almost ready to kill the messenger in many cases. Oh please God, don't tell me the truth. I'm having too much fun eating at the hog trough. I could tell you several other similar stories about these new pamphlets, but space does not permit. One person alone ordered 200 of the Seedline pamphlets. Another man said this of the Seedline pamphlets: "As soon as I read it, I knew I wanted more." Compared to your